On the day of the Barton family's banquet, my husband, Calvin Barton, brought back his mistress from outside. The mocking gazes of the relatives present immediately landed on me. My cousin asked slyly, "Brother, you brought a girl home. Won't my sister-in-law be jealous?" Calvin smiled casually and said, "Your sister-in-law has a good temper and won't argue with me about it. It's not that I don't care. He's sure that I can't leave him." Well, it's true. An orphan adopted by the Barton family doesn't have the right to argue with the newly appointed president of the Barton family, does she? Looking at the appearance of that girl, I understood why Calvin insisted on bringing her home. The woman looked so much like his deceased first love. I suddenly felt a bit tired of this kind of life. I pushed the antique vase beside me, and it shattered all over the floor. Everyone looked at me in surprise. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Calvin, either I stay or she stays for this meal. Upon hearing this, Calvin just took one more look at me and then said indifferently, "She's just here for a meal. Don't worry. The position of Mrs. Barton is still yours." I looked at Calvin firmly with red eyes. "I'm serious." Perhaps this was the first time I disobeyed his intention. Calvin was stunned for a moment. At this time, the woman he brought back pretended to be pitiful. "Mrs. Barton, I begged Mr. Calvin to bring me here. If I've made you unhappy, I'll leave right now." I ignored her and just stared at Calvin stubbornly. "Enough. Your temper is getting worse and worse now. If you want to eat, stay and eat. If not, get out." Calvin let the woman sit in the seat where I usually sat. I smiled self-deprecatingly. His meaning was already very clear. I took off the white jade bracelet that my mother-in-law gave me when I got married and placed it in front of Calvin. "Here, I'm returning this to you." Calvin raised his eyebrows. "Olivia, what do you mean?" I stared at him and said word by word, "I don't want to be your wife anymore." Calvin sneered, "You're just an orphan, without me and without the Barton family. Where else can you go? Stop making a scene. Aren't you ashamed? Sit down quickly." The relatives present also started to persuade me hypocritically, telling me to accept the situation and not push it. I didn't listen. I picked up my phone and walked towards the door. The moment I opened the door, Calvin's cold voice came from behind me. "Olivia, if you dare to walk out of this door today, the Mrs. Barton will be someone else. And don't even think about coming back." I paused for a moment, and then I left this place that wasn't really a home without looking back. I'm an orphan adopted by the Barton family. My grandmother was friends with Grandmother Barton. When she passed away, she entrusted me to Grandmother Barton. Many people outside envied me for being able to grow up in the Barton family and eventually marry Calvin and become Mrs. Barton. But only those who have experienced it know the bitterness in the middle. A Mrs. Barton who is ignored by everyone. A Mrs. Barton whose husband has someone else in his heart. A Mrs. Barton who only has the title. When I married Calvin, he said he could only give me a ceremony. But the mistress on his household register could only be Sophia. Sophia, Calvin's first love. The cinnabar mole in his heart. She passed away due to cancer 7 years ago. So no one expected that the leading man and woman of the century wedding that cost tens of millions didn't even get a marriage certificate. But what could I do? From the moment he saved me from the swimming pool, I fell in love with him. At that time, I naively thought that I would one day warm his cold heart. But I forgot that the living can't compete with the dead. After running away from the Barton family, I walked aimlessly on the street. Calvin's words, "Without the Barton family, where else can you go?" were exactly my current situation. Finally, I sat in the corner of a lounge bar. When I was in the Barton family before, the words I heard most often were, "Madam, you can't do this," because my identity represented the Barton family and represented Calvin. In the past 25 years of my life, I had revolved around the Barton family and around Calvin. But in the end, I became the nominal Mrs. Barton of the Barton family. Listening to the singer on the stage singing love songs, I poured glass after glass of wine into my mouth. Before I collapsed, I heard a gentle voice asking, "Miss, are you okay?" I opened my mouth, but I lost consciousness before I could say anything. When I woke up again, I unconsciously rubbed my temples. The headache made it difficult for me to focus on where I was. "You're awake." A pleasant voice came from the door. I looked up and saw the female singer who sang in the lounge bar yesterday. I looked at her embarrassedly. I'm sorry. I troubled you yesterday. She smiled brightly. It's okay. Meeting each other is also a kind of fate. I'm Tiffany. What's your name? I stared blankly at the bright smile on her face and unconsciously said, Olivia. Olivia. I've cooked some porridge. Get up, wash up, and come over to eat. I didn't react for a moment. Tiffany directly pulled me up from the bed and pushed me towards the bathroom. The toothbrush and towel are new. Hurry up. I'm hungry. She blinked her eyes at me, as if she would wash me herself if I didn't move. I washed up unconsciously and was then pushed by her to sit at the table. Olivia. Eat quickly. After eating, we'll go hiking. Looking at the youthful vitality radiating from her, I suddenly remembered that I was only 25 years old. Before in the Barton family, I had to be calm when doing things and act like Mrs. Barton. So at a young age, I looked old-fashioned. I want to be friends with her. For the first time, I had such a strong urge in my heart. I thought about it and then said cautiously, Tiffany, can I stay here for a while? I'll pay the rent. Tiffany agreed without thinking. Aren't you afraid that I'm a bad person? She waved her hand and said, I'm good at judging people. I didn't ask any more questions and started to eat breakfast. After breakfast, Tiffany pulled me to go hiking. On the way there, we talked about ourselves, our futures, and our pasts as if we had known each other for a long time. Tiffany's past was much more exciting than mine. She had been to many places by herself. Every time she went to a place, she would rent a house and live there for a while, find a lounge bar to perform, and leave when she got bored. And I had been trapped in the Barton family for a full 10 years. When we stood on the top of the mountain, Tiffany suddenly said to me, actually, love doesn't depend on promises, nor does it depend on the future. The appearance of the ending won't actually erase the beautiful moments that have already occurred. I smiled bitterly. The relationship between me and Calvin was just my wishful thinking. She took my arm. Olivia, you have too many shackles on you. You have to break them. Explore yourself, define yourself, and choose for yourself. This is what it means to be a real person. If you want others to love you, you have to love yourself first. After that, she took her camera and went to take photos. I stood aside and watched her running around, but my mind kept thinking about the words she had just said. After so many years in the Barton family, my edges and corners had long been smoothed out, and I no longer had the right to be willful. And leaving the Barton family and leaving Calvin was the first decision I had made for myself in all these years. But I was like a duckweed floating around, homeless. I had never thought about how to go on in the future. I just escaped with my only bit of courage. But I'm only 25 years old. Even if I admit that I've been swallowed up by the darkness, I still have to live my life like a ray of light. Tiffany came back after taking photos, pulled me to sit on the ground, and we looked at the sky. She pulled me and said what this cloud looked like and how beautiful that cloud was. When I was in the Barton family, I was always told what to do or what I should do. Such a carefree life was something I couldn't even imagine. Tiffany and I just sat on the ground like this, looking at the clouds in various shapes in the sky and chatting about random topics. I also made a decision in my heart. I want to walk out bravely. Since I've left my comfort zone, I should live my own life well. Tiffany, I want to go out and have a look. See the outside world. Tiffany happily put her arm around my shoulder. Let's go together. I think we can create a self-media account about our travels. Record our journey as we go, and we can even make money. I can take photos. And you're good looking. We will definitely become popular. Listening to her talking enthusiastically about the future, I also had some expectations. I graduated from the Chinese department. I can write the copy. For the things I don't know how to do, I can also learn. Tiffany clapped her hands excitedly. Great. We're just a perfect match as friends. Hearing her description, I laughed. Tiffany is a person with great initiative. As soon as we finished talking, she pulled me back, saying that we should start right away when we got back. I helplessly told her that I didn't bring anything out with me, and I had to reapply for all my certificates. We had to stay for a while longer. On the way down the mountain, I took out my phone card and casually threw it on the way. Goodbye, the Barton family. Goodbye, Calvin. While waiting for the certificates, I signed up for some video editing courses online. Tiffany still went to the lounge bar to perform every night. During the day, she would pester me to cook all kinds of food for her. and then we would discuss where to go for our first destination. The first time I cooked a meal for her, she ate and scolded. "That scumbag who hurt you is just an idiot. Where can you find a girlfriend who is beautiful and can cook? If I were a man, I would definitely marry you and keep you at home." During the time I left the Barton family, I had a fulfilling life every day. Calvin never looked for me either. One day, I saw an interview with him on TV. A reporter asked him about the recently rumored marriage change. He denied it as usual with a calm expression. When the reporter wanted to ask more questions, his assistant announced that the interview was over. So it spread outside that I was completely ignored by Calvin. On the day when it was just a month since I left the Barton family, Tiffany and I set off on a journey to City A. The day after we arrived in City A, we climbed a snow mountain with an altitude of 7,500 meters. The moment we reached the top of the mountain, I experienced an unprecedented severe altitude sickness. At that moment, it was as if an invisible big hand was tightly gripping my throat, and I had difficulty breathing. The beautiful scenery in front of me became blurred, and the ringing in my ears filled my ears, making it impossible for me to concentrate. I almost thought that I would stay on this mountain forever. But not far away was the golden mountain bathed in the sunlight, which represented hope. On this land full of hope, my tears welled up uncontrollably. The tour guide was in a hurry to give me oxygen. Tiffany quickly hugged me and comforted me. "Olivia, stop crying. Your blood oxygen level is rising. You won't die. Don't be afraid." I shook my head and said that I wasn't crying because of fear. With the help of everyone, I stood up on the snow mountain, looked at the golden mountain bathed in the sunlight not far away, and faced my future. This stop in City A represents bravery and my new beginning. After coming back from the snow mountain, we edited the videos we took, added the voiceovers, and finally posted them online. Unexpectedly, they became popular. Many netizens commented below, saying that they saw hope and a new beginning. I thought so too. During the journey, I started painting again. Grandmother Barton was a painter. When I was a child, influenced by her, I also fell in love with painting. But after being with Calvin, he didn't allow me to paint anymore. The reason was simple. Sophia was a painter. At that time, I thought that my painting would make Calvin feel sad when he saw it. But later, I accidentally heard him say, "When Olivia paints, I will think of Sophia. Olivia doesn't deserve to be compared with Sophia." Sophia had already passed away, but Calvin used various ways to remind me of her existence. The Barton family had always used the incense that Sophia liked, the set of bowls and chopsticks that Sophia liked, and there were jasmine flowers that Sophia liked planted in the yard. On the second floor of the Barton family's house, next to Calvin's room, there was a locked room. Someone cleaned it every week. Calvin spent half of each month in that room. The second year after Sophia passed away, Grandmother Barton ordered people to clean out the things in the room. But when Calvin found out, he got really angry. "If this room is gone, I won't come back to this home either." In the end, Calvin went to the garbage station himself to find all the things back and put them back in their original places one by one. Since then, that room had become a forbidden area of the Barton family, and Sophia had also become a taboo topic in the Barton family. The day before leaving City A, my phone pushed a trending topic. "The person in power of the Barton family is suspected of having a new lover." I couldn't help but click on it. Looking at the photos taken by the reporters in the trending topic, I just felt it was extremely ironic. Did Calvin really love Sophia that much? Did he even hold a substitute who looked like her dear to his heart? In the photos, Calvin lowered his head and let the woman comb his hair for him. When the woman got out of the car, he would carefully protect the top of her head. During the meal, he would take the initiative to pick up food and peel shrimps for the woman. Although I have only loved Calvin, I know that true love is irreplaceable and there won't be any substitute. If I were still in the Barton family now, I would probably be staying at home alone, waiting for a husband who doesn't come home. But now I'm very busy. Busy improving myself, busy shooting videos, busy with the post-production, and busy traveling around the world with Tiffany. I feel that I almost never think of Calvin now. Olivia was really tough this time. She returned the family heirloom bracelet of the Calvin family and didn't come back even after a month of leaving the Barton family. The day after the family banquet, the butler called him in a panic, saying that the madam still hadn't come back. When he got home, he saw that all of Olivia's certificates were still there. And she didn't take any of her clothes either. Calvin was certain that she would be back soon. Because she had no family, he was the only person Olivia could rely on now. He knew that Olivia was just trying to use this method to make him drive away the woman who resembled Sophia. She had always cared deeply about Sophia's existence. But so what? When she had enough of the hardships outside, she would remember the good things about the Barton family and come back. When she came back, he must make her learn the rules. She was already grown up and yet she ran away from home, bringing shame to the Barton family. However, Calvin didn't expect to wait for a whole month. He had to admit that the person he thought he could manipulate at will had somehow become bolder without him realizing it. She endured the fact that he didn't get a marriage certificate with her. She endured it when he placed the things that Sophia liked the most right in front of her. Calvin thought that Olivia would endure it for a lifetime. But when he brought the woman who looked like Sophia home, Olivia's face turned extremely bad, and she even ran away. For the first time, Calvin took out his phone and dialed the number that he had never actively contacted before. But on the other end, it was announced that Olivia's number had been suspended. Yet he realized that apart from this number, he didn't know who else he could turn to in order to contact her. She had no family and hardly any friends. So he always felt that even if she were to die, Olivia wouldn't really leave the Barton family or leave him. She had been angry for too long. She should come back soon. Right. When he heard the number suspended message for the 10th time, he finally lost his patience and looked up at his assistant. Go and find out where the madam is. I'm worried that if something happens to her, my grandmother will come to beat me in my dreams at midnight. The next time I saw Calvin was the day after Tiffany and I returned from City A. At that time, we were editing the last video of our journey in City A when the doorbell rang. As soon as the door opened, several bodyguards rushed in. Tiffany asked in confusion, "Who are you looking for?" The bodyguard's gazes stopped on me, who was holding a tablet behind her. "Madam, Mr. Calvin asked us to bring you back." I hadn't heard that address for over a month. Now I felt a bit unaccustomed to it. Tiffany turned around and looked at me. "You're the wife of a wealthy family. Are they from your blind husband? Have you filed for a divorce lawsuit? How much property can you get?" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Tiffany's 3 consecutive questions. Calvin had always been known as a man with a discerning eye in the circle. There was no project he had set his sights on that didn't make money. This was the first time I had heard someone call Calvin blind. "I didn't get a marriage certificate with him. We just held a ceremony," I said. Tiffany clicked her tongue. "He's really a scumbag." I looked at the bodyguards and said calmly, "Go back and tell Calvin that I won't go back to the Barton family. There's no need to look for me anymore." The bodyguards looked at each other. The leading one took out his phone and dialed Calvin's number. "Mr. Calvin, the madam refuses to come back." Calvin arrived faster than I had expected. In less than 10 minutes, he appeared at my doorstep. But he didn't look too happy. The bodyguards stepped aside knowingly, and Calvin walked up to me. "Olivia, you've grown bolder. Not only did you run away from home, but you also didn't come back for so long. Don't forget that you're still Mrs. Barton. Come back with me." I chuckled and reminded him, "Calvin, we don't have a marriage certificate. So where does the title of Mrs. Barton come from?" Upon hearing this, Calvin curled his lips into a sarcastic smile. "Olivia, don't you just want to get a marriage certificate with me? But I told you before that the mistress on my household register can only be Sophia. You married me willingly. Do you regret it now?" I thought for the first time that Calvin had such a low emotional intelligence. "Which word of mine made you think I want to get a marriage certificate with you? I just want you to stop bothering me. I'm very happy now. And I won't go back to the Barton family." Calvin was taken aback for a moment and couldn't believe what I said was true. After a moment of silence, he spoke as if he was compromising. "Olivia, you win. If you come back now, I'll go and get the marriage certificate with you, and I'll let go of the matter of you running away from home." As he spoke, he extended his hand towards me. In the past, whenever he reached out to me, I would go over and hold his hand tightly. But this time, I just looked at him quietly. "Calvin, isn't it better that I leave? Anyway, you don't like me. Now that I'm gone, you can bring whoever you want home. You don't have to worry so much anymore." Calvin was so angry at my words that he laughed. "Olivia, don't play hard to get. This trick won't work on me. I'm asking you one last time. Are you coming back with me or not?" If you don't, the Mrs. Barton will be someone else. I waved my hand indifferently. Change it then. Let whoever wants to be that stupid Mrs. Barton be it. I'm busy with something, so I won't see you out. Remember to close the door for me when you leave, Calvin said angrily. Fine. Remember, it's you who chose to leave. Don't come and beg me if you regret it later. I shouldn't have saved you. You ungrateful wretch. I should have let you drown in the swimming pool. After that, he turned around, slammed the door, and left. My first encounter with Calvin was also at a Barton family banquet. At that time, I had just returned to the Barton family with grandmother Barton. 2 children of the Barton family were teasing me in the yard, making fun of me for being a country bumpkin, reeking of poverty, and calling me a wild child without parents. I had a fiery temper back then and couldn't stand being called a wild child. So I went up to fight with them, forgetting that I was much younger than them. During the scuffle, one of the boys pushed me into the swimming pool. I splashed around and shouted for help in the water, while they laughed at me and called me a country bumpkin who couldn't swim. Just then, Calvin passed by and saved me. From that day on, I became like a little tail behind him. I watched with my own eyes as he had a passionate love affair with Sophia. After Sophia passed away, I saw him stay in his room without eating or drinking for 3 days. Even though I was just an audience to their love story, I still overestimated my abilities and agreed to marry him at grandmother Barton's request. I delusionally thought that I could replace the white moonlight in his heart. But the truth told me that even though I grew up in the Barton family and even though I married Calvin, I wasn't really a member of the Barton family. The wealthy family was a place that devoured people without leaving a trace. After staying there for 10 years, my edges and corners had been smoothed out, and I played the role of Mrs. Barton that everyone envied. On the night I fled from the Barton family, faced with the confusion of the future, I did regret it. If I hadn't met Tiffany, I probably would have gone back to the Barton family the next day after sobering up and continued to be the seemingly glorious Mrs. Barton. Fortunately, God still loved me. When I was homeless for the first time, He sent me the first ray of light in my life, Grandmother Barton. When I was confused about the future, He sent me Tiffany, who was like the sun, pulling my thoughts back. Tiffany was acting coquettishly beside me. Olivia, my dear Olivia, I don't want to edit the video today. Can you do it for me? I firmly refused. Even the sun could be blocked by dark clouds sometimes. If you don't edit it, there won't be any boiled beef and spicy sauce or spicy chicken for dinner tonight. It will be just vegetables and tofu instead. Tiffany immediately sat in front of the computer and mumbled. The wife of the Barton family has such a heartless heart. She wants to starve me to death. I couldn't help but laugh. She suddenly turned around and looked at me seriously, asking, Olivia, do you regret leaving the Barton family? From a comfortable life to now roaming around with me outside. I hesitated for a few seconds. Instead of answering her directly, I started to tell her the story of my relationship with the Barton family and with Calvin. I thought it would take a long time to tell, but I found that it could be summed up in just a few words. After Tiffany heard it, she said through gritted teeth, that scumbag Calvin. What does he mean by just having a meal? If he dares to show up in front of me again, I'll chase him away with a broom. He doesn't love his first love as much as he thinks. Otherwise, how could there be that mistress later? He's simply tarnishing love. I couldn't help but nod in agreement. Although I had never been in a real relationship, I knew that loving someone wasn't like that. The next time I saw Calvin was during our journey in City X with Tiffany. One of his interviews became a trending topic. In the video, a reporter asked him, what do you think about the fact that the popular travel blogger on the internet recently is Mrs. Barton? A hint of surprise flashed across Calvin's face, and then he said calmly, this is just my wife's little hobby, and I respect her for it. Tiffany asked, does he know? I shook my head. No, it's just an official answer. How could Calvin pay attention to what I was doing? The last time I refused him, he probably went home and celebrated with that woman. He had always wanted to get rid of me, but before, he had promised Grandmother Barton to take care of me. Calvin was a man who would definitely keep his promises. That's why he said that the Mrs. Barton of the Barton family would only be me that day. Olivia, it's your turn to edit the video today. After editing the video, you still have to take an oral language class. Stop looking at that scumbag. Tiffany's words pulled me out of my thoughts. I replied to her loudly and then gathered my thoughts and started to edit the video. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, I might as well learn a few more Korean sentences and prepare for the next journey. After returning from City X, Tiffany told me that she had secretly submitted my work, New Beginning, to a competition and it had won the second prize. I used to think that I really had no talent for painting. At that time, when I finished the painting, I was so happy that I showed the entry to him. He threw the painting on the ground. With this kind of level, you want to participate in the competition. Why do you always have to compete with Sophia in everything? Painting requires talent, even with her eyes closed. Sophia can paint 1,000 times better than you. Since then, I never picked up a paintbrush again. Olivia, I know you like painting very much. That painting can bring hope to people and symbolizes the beautiful things in the world. I thought it was very suitable for the competition, so Her voice became softer and softer, and she lowered her head, looking very guilty. She probably thought that I would blame her for making the decision for me, but she didn't know that what she thought was a mistake. It actually brought me a new beginning. Olivia, why are you crying? I'll tell the organizer right now that we're withdrawing from the competition. Hearing her anxious voice, I unconsciously reached out and wiped my face, only to realize that I was crying. I shook my head. No, I'm just too happy. I didn't expect that I could win an award. Tiffany hugged me and comforted me softly. Olivia, you're the best. Don't listen to Calvin's nonsense. His mouth is worse than a toilet. You're much better than that, Sophia. Hearing her words, I couldn't help but laugh. We'll go to receive the award dressed beautifully and blind his eyes. Yes, those who love you will always think that you're the best. I had been deceiving myself before, thinking that I could replace Sophia, but I was constantly humiliated and told that I was overestimating myself. When I stood on the stage to receive the award, looking at Tiffany who was smiling even more happily than me in the audience, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction in my heart. After the award ceremony ended, I walked out of the hall with the crowd. From a distance, I saw a figure that looked like Calvin's back. I shook my head. It must just be a similar back. After walking out of the exhibition hall, Tiffany quickly walked towards me. Olivia, it's great. When it was your turn to receive the award just now, I heard people around me saying that your painting is really good. I couldn't help but smile. People around were holding their art albums and walking out excitedly. I heard that YY's painting also participated in the competition and won the third prize. YY is so amazing. I liked her even before she passed away. But I really love the work that won the second prize this time. When I look at that painting, I believe that the future is bright. YY was Sophia's stage name. In fact, Tiffany was right. I wasn't bad at all. Olivia. Suddenly, Calvin's voice came from behind me. I unconsciously grabbed Tiffany's hand and quickened my pace to walk out. But before I could take 2 steps, my arm was grabbed. I turned around and looked at him in confusion. What are you doing here? Calvin frowned slightly, and there was a trace of imperceptible contempt in his voice. Is this a property of the Barton family? What I'm doing here has nothing to do with you. Right. His frown deepened, looking like a series of undulating small mountains. If this is your way of trying to get my attention, then well done. You've succeeded. I felt sick to my stomach from his words. How could I not have known before that he was such a conceited person? Just as I was about to retort, Tiffany suddenly stepped forward, put her hands on her hips, and blocked me behind her, looking just like an old hen protecting her chicks. Mr. Calvin, open your dog eyes and look at the award-winning list. Our Olivia is here to receive an award this time. She won the second prize in her first competition. You were really blind before. Calvin's pupils trembled slightly, and the first thing he said was something that made people want to beat him up. Olivia, you didn't steal Sophia's painting to participate in the competition, did you? Upon hearing this, I wasn't surprised at all that such words came out of his mouth. I tugged at Tiffany, who was so angry that she was about to have a showdown with him, and said indifferently, Tiffany, let's go. And Calvin stood there, staring at the back of Olivia as she left. And he didn't leave for a long time. Calvin looked at the back of Olivia as she walked away and was lost in thought for a long time. He thought of the painting he had just seen at the exhibition. At that time, a teacher had said that the only difference between this painting and the first prize winner was a slight flaw in the painting technique. But it really could. Just like the name of the painting. bring the hope of a new beginning to people. From the painting, one could see the artist's expectation for the future and the letting go of the past. The vitality in the painting, new beginning, was so dazzling that it was hard to forget. It was different from the Olivia in his impression. The future in her eyes used to be dim. Before, Calvin had once thought that Olivia was the one who had cancer. She was so lifeless. But when she first came to the Barton family, she was like a little firecracker, getting angry at the slightest provocation. Gradually, outsiders' comments on her were that she was more and more like the lady of the Barton family, calm and magnanimous. However, Calvin hated this unremarkable appearance of Olivia the most. But the Olivia he had just seen seemed like a completely different person. She was bright, full of vitality, and her eyes were filled with light. It made his gaze involuntarily stay on her. Calvin probably was still stuck in his previous impression of her. When he heard that the artist of New Beginning was Olivia, his first reaction was to suspect that she didn't paint that painting. But Calvin also knew that it was impossible. If it was the current Olivia, it wouldn't be a bad idea to keep her by his side. That's what Calvin thought. People still like beautiful things. But in Olivia's eyes when she looked at him, there was no longer the full love as before. Perhaps Olivia herself didn't even realize that there was a trace of disgust in her eyes when she faced Calvin. Calvin suddenly felt as if he had lost something very important. But he didn't want to believe it. I saw Calvin again. He was at my doorstep. I was about to go out to buy groceries to make the sweet and sour pork ribs that Tiffany had been longing for. When I opened the door, I saw Calvin standing at the elevator entrance. In his hand, he was holding the Lysianthus that I liked. "What are you doing here?" I stood opposite Calvin and asked in a cold voice. Calvin silently sized me up for a while. "Olivia, I'm here to take you home." I lifted my eyelids. "Calvin, I've already returned the white jade bracelet to you. We have no relationship anymore." "No relationship? You grew up in the Barton family. Do you think you can just cut off ties with me with a few words?" As Calvin spoke, he took out a gift box from the Lysianthus and opened it. "The bracelet is here. Let me put it on you." I looked down at the bracelet in the box and chuckled. "Calvin, I made it very clear to you the day I left. Isn't it better for us to end things decently?" There was a rare trace of stubbornness on Calvin's face, and he grabbed my hand. "End things? Impossible. Olivia, I've sent that woman away, and she won't appear again. Put on the bracelet, and we'll go get the marriage certificate now." I pulled my hand out of his. "Calvin, it's impossible for us. You should leave." After that, I escorted him out and closed the door firmly. After that day, Calvin changed his strategy. He waited for me at my doorstep every day, looking as if he hadn't slept all night. Sometimes he would send a bouquet of flowers, and sometimes it was a gift that I had said I liked before. Tiffany was afraid that I would go back to him, so she specifically reminded me earnestly, "Being soft-hearted towards men will bring bad luck for a lifetime." I told her to rest assured. Calvin is now a person who doesn't even count as a friend to me. But as time went by, I also got annoyed. That day, I opened the door and looked at him helplessly. "Calvin, let's have a talk." Calvin sat opposite me and said cautiously, "Olivia, will you come back? I'll treat you well in the future. I was wrong before, and I apologize to you. I have you in my heart, but I just don't know how to express it. Besides, the Barton family is your home. Don't you want it anymore?" "Oh." He said he had me in his heart but just couldn't express it. But it was also him who told me when we got married that only Sophia's name would be in his household register. "Calvin, I've lived in the Barton family for 12 years. Have you ever regarded me as a family member for even a single moment? I'm very satisfied with my current life. I hope you won't bother me anymore in the future." The only person I cared about in the Barton family was Grandmother Barton. Now that she was gone, there was no need for me to stay in the Barton family. Calvin's face froze, and his voice trembled slightly. "Olivia, I already know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? Sophia is just my past, and it won't affect us." I smiled indifferently. "You are also my past now, so please don't come to affect my life anymore. Calvin, save some dignity for yourself." Calvin was a proud and smart person, and he wouldn't let himself be too embarrassed. So this was the last time I saw him. I don't regret this relationship, just feel a little bit of regret. Rather than saying that everything is a regret, it's better to say that it's an experience. An experience that has no result but is even more beautiful. Tiffany and I chose Tibet for our third trip. We went to see the Potala Palace located on the third pole of the earth, and to listen to the stories of this city that is closest to the sky. After coming back from Tibet, Tiffany and I's video account had become one of the top accounts among bloggers in the same category. For this, we were so happy that we got dead drunk. The next day, we endured the hangover and worked on the post-production of the video while feeling miserable. We discussed whether to set up a studio like others, but after repeated discussions, we both rejected this proposal. The original intention of creating this account was just to record our experiences. I ignored her and just stared at Calvin stubbornly. We didn't want to give up our original intention for the sake of profit. Since winning the award last time, painting has become a way for me to record our travels. Tiffany once suggested that I find a teacher for systematic study. I refused. This is a hobby, so I don't want it to become a burden for me. But it was this thought that led to unexpected success. My paintings gradually became famous in the industry. When my name was mentioned, there were endless praises. I basically won awards every time I participated in a competition, which then caused a small sensation. Many people were curious how I could always be so full of energy. I glanced at Tiffany and told them seriously, I have a mobile power bank beside me who can charge me up all the time. If leaving the Barton family was an impulsive decision of mine, then Tiffany was the luck I encountered after that impulse. I looked up at the girl sitting by the windowsill, signing me up for a painting competition, and couldn't help laughing. Tiffany heard my laughter. Although she didn't know why, she also laughed with me. After leaving the Barton family and Calvin, I found a new beginning and understood that each of us is like a dandelion, and there will be a day when we fly away. There is always a place waiting for you. Watching your flowers bloom,